Switching topics. I saw this on Twitter. Somebody posted this on Twitter. And they brought up a question. It was a Reddit thread that somebody had put. Reddit or Reset Era. It was a Reset Era thread that I saw. And wait, wrong tab. I'm going to restructure the question. I'm going to tell you what their original question. I'll actually read the Reset Era post. I want to restructure the question a little bit here. It says King of Dreamland. Was talking about this with a friend last night where we both shared our experiences of struggling to get through Yakuza 0 because of how many cutscenes it had. Another friend wasn't a big fan of that criticism, saying that it's just how the narrative is designed and that while it may not have appealed to us, it has its target audience. Would like to hear what Era has to say on the topic. Now, I read that and thought, well, I mean, it's a legitimate complaint. If you personally don't like cutscenes, then if you personally don't like cutscenes, then and you see a lot of cutscenes, you're not going to enjoy it. If you like cutscenes and you see a lot of them, you're going to have fun. Like that's a good thing. Here's how I'm going to restructure the question though, because I read it a different way and then I realized that wasn't what they were saying. Do you think? And I see everybody's already jumping on it. You know what? I'll tell you what. Let me read everybody's answers first about this, and then I will tell you the restructured version of the question. Don't let me forget to ask you the restructured version of the question, please. I think the question comes down with caveats. Can the cutscenes be skipped? How long are the individual cutscenes? Ryan, let's say you can skip them, but only after you've seen them before. Let's say that they force you to, unless you have a save file on your memory card. If this is your first time playing through the game, you're forced to watch them. Depends. Metal Gear Solid 4 as an example. A game has more movie than game. I think it's a problem. Depends on the game. Also, if you can skip them, I don't mind a lot of cutscenes. I love Metal Gear Solid 4, even though it's 80% cutscene. I love that those two messages are right next to each other. Pokemon Sun and Moon annoys me because of the cutscenes. The big difference for me is I can skip Metal Gear, but not Pokemon. Short answer, yes and no. If the story is interesting, a lot of cutscenes doesn't really hurt. Case-by-case basis. We have VN, which is basically cutscene the game. I think it all depends on game in question. Hydrebot, what do you think about this, Hydrebot? All right. So, this is my restructured question. This is the one that I think is gonna being able to skip them is a big one. This is the one that I think is going to be the most polarizing. Do you think that a structured review, something from IGN or a YouTuber, a YouTuber reviewer, some call me Johnny, for let's just pull one randomly out of the air and say some call me Johnny. Do you think that in a structured review, too many cutscenes is a legitimate complaint against the game? That's the interesting question. I found that question to be much more interesting because we have already seen in the chat that the idea of an excessive amount of cutscenes is very much opinion based. So the question becomes, as a structured review, is it okay for a reviewer to say, I would give the game better scores, but there were too many cutscenes? Speak of the devil, as Johnny just goes live. Yes, because if you don't watch what it takes away from the game versus being just purely focused on the game itself. But some games are more storyline intensive. We had somebody already here say that they admitted that Metal Gear Solid 4 was cutscene intensive, but they liked the story. So when they watch a reviewer and the reviewer says there are too many cutscenes, and I say too many cutscenes specifically because that is a negative connotation. An overabundance of cutscenes is probably more accurate. It's probably more neutral, but saying too many cutscenes is definitely more polarizing. Do you think it's... See, there are things, the same can be said in reverse. Some people find a lack of story a turn off for game. Absolutely. No, Ryan, you put the tonguey face. Oh. But you're absolutely right. Some people don't think that there are enough cutscenes. And yes, I have played games like that. I've played plenty of platformers, run and gun, shooters, beat 'em ups and stuff where I wish there was more cutscene in the middle. I wish there was more. We were being presented with more storyline. We just played DuckTales, the DuckTales remastered on stream. Oh boy, that game compared to the original, I believe benefited very well from having extra story and extra cutscenes. I think in a way it could be. While I do not think having cutscenes is a bad thing in a game, let's keep in mind that the video games are a different medium compared to movies. That includes RPGs, despite the story being a main feature of the genre. So there needs to be a good balance between cutscenes and gameplay. Absolutely. Nice. Johnny pointed out in Metro Fusion, the gameplay tells the majority of its story and only a few cutscenes. I'd rather experience the story than watch it unfold. Yeah, it's. I find it to be very interesting in Kingdom Hearts, like 70% cutscene. I actually posted this picture of Xenosaga because when I played Xenosaga, it was 20 minutes of story, 10 minutes of game. 20 minutes of story, 10 minutes of game. If even that balance. And I remember feeling that while you've got a lot of story to get in there, you've got to let the player play the game. And who would you say? Aqua Sakura said it, about it being a different medium. Yeah, absolutely, it is a different medium. Video games are an interactive medium. You need to interact with the game in order to do it. There are probably ways that you can get around that. I know that this is not super popular, but QuickTime events, games that are storyline, and then they throw some QuickTime events in there. That's a way to get around that. And I know that some people don't like that. I myself don't find QuickTime events to be gameplay, but they are interactive. They do force you to not just sit there and zone out. You do have to pay attention to what's going on. Yeah, QuickTime events. That being said, there are versions that work. Tomb Raider, I thought that the Tomb Raider reboot was a fantastic game. It had a ton of action. There's a lot of stuff you can do, some great story, and it had some QuickTime events thrown in. Reminded me of Die Hard Arcade. Did you ever play Die Hard Arcade, where you would fight the game? You play the game. It was a beat 'em up, and then when you beat up the people in the room and you had to run to the next room, you know how in a lot of those games you just sort of move to the next room. They would have it like, she's down the hall, and then the character would run down the hall, and then someone would jump out at them, and you had to hit the button, and you would like punch them on the run, and when you did that, you got bonus points for it. And so it was like a quick time event, but in the time that should have been downtime, they kind of kept you playing, and it was a very interesting use of quick time events. Yeah, if the quick time events don't overly affect the cutscenes, I think it's fine. Do they even count as cutscenes when there's quick time events in them, though? Because that's interactive gameplay. It's not the best interactive gameplay by far. Never forget failing the Spider-Man 3 quick time. Oh my god, Heavy Rain, when Elliot did the thing where you just he kept messing up it was like the run through the mall, and he kept messing up and falling. That's hilarious. Who's that? Ryan said God of War. God of War did quick time events pretty okay, which I didn't like God of War because I didn't like the character. I didn't play God of War 4, but I tried playing the other God of War games and I didn't like them. I don't like the character. I find it to be very one note. More like interactive cutscenes, but yeah. Quick time events can be okay, but when it's done like Bayonetta does them for me, it put me off finishing the game. Interesting. You guys say the same for RPGs? Do cutscenes matter in those type of RPGs are RPGs are, you get a little more leeway since they're very story heavy, but Xenosaga was an RPG, and I believe it was way too many cutscenes. But yeah, I'm interested. You didn't like the carrot? I'm interested in the idea of, is it a legitimate review? 7.8 out of 10. Too much water. What Pokemon game was that? There was a Pokemon game that I believe IGN gave them that score and said and complained that there was too much water, and it started the whole gag. Like, we still make that joke. Was that a legitimate? A lot of people make fun of that review because they don't believe too much water is a legitimate thing to complain about in a game. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. They don't think that's a legitimate thing to complain about. Realistically, it very well could be. I know people that didn't like Wind Waker, that loved Wind Waker until they got to the water, and then they hated it because it was sailing. Oh, I'm sorry, it was the sailing around looking for the Triforce pieces that they didn't like that part. They felt that it ground to a halt, and I do feel that the game sort of halted its progress when that happened. There's a legitimate argument there that there's too much water, that you're traveling through it all the time. The traveling through it can be kind of slow, so it's a legitimate problem. Is too many cutscenes something a legitimate reviewer can effectively state? And that's sort of what I mean by that. That's why I thought that was a more interesting question. Again, a lot of cutscenes is more a thing for the audience to be noted on, but not affect the score. It was more case by case. It was more the last third of Gen 3 Oris. It's just nothing but water roofs, which visually makes it super boring and really limits the encounters you have. Yeah, see, Ryan, people make fun of that review. There's too much water. But that was a legitimate complaint. Because too much water indicated boring visuals, slow movement. It turned out to be a legitimate complaint that people had with the game. So when people say too many cutscenes, and people get up in arms, but I like cutscenes. It's a story. This is the story of the game. It's possible to have way too many of those. The original Drawn to Life on the DS not only has you interact with the intro by essentially drawing the game into existence in just 3 pictures, but also allows you to interact with the title screen. That's interesting. That's much more interesting. I mean, but that's a niche sort of experience when it comes to Drawn to Life. Jack the Cat. Hey Greg, do you watch any more Hunter x Hunter, or is that Hunter Squared? Are you going to recommend it to John? I have not watched more Hunter by Hunter, Hunter Squared. I have not. Unfortunately, I have slowed down a little bit on what I'm able to watch. I've started a bunch of series and didn't finish them. I only finally finished Castlevania a couple weeks ago. I don't feel like RPGs need tons of cutscenes to tell a full story. RPGs and the NES. Okay, well, Baru, that is a special exception because cutscenes that cut away from the gameplay wasn't necessarily possible, or it was possible on the NES and SNES era, but not to the extent of saying of like an RPG. Ninja Gaiden was fantastic. It was one of the first games I ever played that had cutscenes. It worked perfectly. But could you imagine the amount of cutscenes would have been required for something like Final Fantasy 2 or 6? RPGs on the NES and SNES, Genesis, Master System, they have this unique issue where that wasn't really an option for them to tell their story through cutscenes. Or not in an effective way anyway. Yeah, there's a difference between cutscenes and downtime in a game. Going around a town and talking to people is great gameplay, even if it can fill the same story purpose as a cutscene and giving information. Yeah. If it's able to do that, that's why I think, Ryan, and I think that's the problem with too many cutscenes. I think I have played games where Xenosaga is one of them. You could have gotten a lot of that story that's in the cutscenes out in gameplay. You could have gotten that in character interactions that don't switch to CG scenes or anything like that. Things that don't take away from my controller. One of my biggest problems with Resident Evil 0 was that it turned a lot of the scariest moments into cutscenes. You would be playing the game, and then all of a sudden you would see the top and bottom disappear so that it was sort of a little bit more widescreen. And you knew that something was going to happen. Something was going to jump out and scare you. That, to me, counts as a cutscene, and to me, it's not as scary as having something jump out at me while I'm playing the game. So it ruined it for me. Oh wait, what was, using Braille on a system with no tactile feedback. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting sort of topic that what it probably leads into a bigger topic, a bigger discussion about what should and should not be considered when making a review. What should be understood to be opinion, what should be understood to be fact. You know, one of my most important things, and a lot of it feels like opinion, but things like controls, you know, that seems like it kind of should be opinion, but it's definitely fact. When someone tells you the game controls very stiffly, most people listen to that and say, ooh, that sounds bad. But if you've ever played a game where the controls are way too floaty, stiff sounds pretty good. I can live with a lot of cutscenes in the game as long as I can get enough gameplay to be satisfied, which I know is different for... No. That meaning I think that the argument here at its core is a balance. Is definitely trying to balance those two things, because you don't want... Under Drawn to Life is a niche experience. It's two better examples. Celeste and Fez. Celeste was fantastic. Used the cutscenes everywhere that it needed to. Fez I didn't play because I think that was the game by Phil Fish, and I watched that documentary, and he was such a douche on the documentary that I didn't play it. No one's gonna say Bubsy 3D or Rascal with PS1 controls. Again, that's the real duty of a critic, to properly explain the problem instead of just saying, yeah. And that's the thing. I think that we have so many reviewers out there that it's tough to get an unbiased review, and you're going to get tons and tons of, I didn't like this game. I think that this control scheme is bad. I think that these graphics are bad. And if you can take it that way, that's fine. But a lot of people don't take it that way. A lot of people take it very much to heart. Rez was better. The documentary was edited in a way to make Phil Fish seem like more of a dick from every source. Rooster, it's funny because every source that I read, that I seen at the time, was people saying that he was very arrogant and full of himself, and that was why apparently that was why Fez 2 either didn't happen or wasn't going to happen or something, was because he was just very arrogant about what was going into the game. Again, I don't know the person. I never met him. Documentaries can be cut to make people look like however they want them to look like. But there's a point where you start seeing stuff outside of the documentary, and you start seeing people talk about interactions that they've had with him, and you start to question how much of that was right or wrong. Rez is in the Dreamcast. Was Rez a Dreamcast game? I thought Rez was a PS2 game. I'm not saying it wasn't bad. I just hear the documentary made it seem worse. Indie game, the movie. That's it. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was indie game. Did they ever make a fan-made port of that Star Wars arcade? No, I don't think they did. I love that arcade game, though. It's impossible to write an objective review, but a critic can at least explain in detail why they personally didn't like the game. Yeah, and the best reviewers do it. The best reviewers absolutely do it. I mean, if you guys know of any decent reviewers, always feel free to call them out. I'm always looking for an interesting reviewer, but you never know. I mean, the last thing you want is to watch a review and then there's some doofus dancing in his basement. You know what I mean? I really wouldn't want to deal with that. The game was so good, that's why it was never ported. Fez's developer, yeah. I do recall him having a rather overinflated ego with the few interactions I had during my Sony days. Yeah, I don't want critics to be objective. I want them to explain well, not to say too much X or too much Y. Yeah, whenever they do that, it feels like an opinion. Tell him to buy his uncle a car. Okay. Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting topic. I thought that was an interesting point. Why don't you take this topic out with your friends? Why don't you, when you're talking to your friends over this weekend, tell them you were watching this show, and there was this guy, and he had this weird idea about whether or not too many cutscenes was a legitimate review issue, and see how they feel about it. But remember, Greg buys nephews. This is going to be a kind of not self-serving, but this is a personal one to me. There's a Twitter page called Panzer Dragoon World, or Panzer Dragoon World. It is at no, hold on. This is them at Pans. I'm gonna get it right here. Pan's Drag World. That sounds like it really could be for something else. Yeah, right. That's it. So they're focused on Panzer Dragoon, obviously, and they're talking a lot about the remake. This is the tweet that they had. It says FAQ Panzer Dragoon remake. Well, what we know so far. It says, I wrote the summary of what was discussed in the 2 recent podcast interviews of Benjamin, the Tokyo Game Show. It has their Twitter names, but I don't actually know who they are. Please read as there's some important information here. So these are updates. Okay, what we know so far, based on 2 most recent interviews with Benjamin Anseaume, Anseaume, producer of the game. I want to play the remake so much. Yeah, like I said, this is kind of a self-serving topic just because I like this. Forever Entertainment. Okay, Forever Entertainment pitched Sega about making Panzer Dragoon game. They love to work on existing IPs. Being in Japan frequently, the discussion finally came to the point where Sega gave the green light. This is sort of like the history of how it came to be and where the progress is now. The dev teams were amazed by response of the fans on social networks. Panzer Dragoon 2 Zwei remake is already in production, but the focus is on the first game right now due to production milestones. They're focusing on the first game. What that means is they're focusing on the first game because developing the first game is also including the creation of the character models, the world that is around it. You know, it's more difficult to make the first one from the ground up, and then you're going to use those assets to make the next ones. So they're focusing on that first. In terms of faithfulness, the team aims for a 1-to-1 in terms of gameplay and story. They will improve the graphics. Some mods will be added to enhance the experience as optional features, which I'm assuming that is quality of life features, things like save files and such. Some cosmetic settings will also be added as options like CRT filters. You know, I love some CRT filters. Zwei. Okay, there we go. Ryan, I do that all the time. Every time I am encountering that word, I ask how to say it. The original games were designed with the limitations of the hardware in mind. These do not exist anymore, so one of the challenges is to stay true to the original game while also attracting new players. Regarding the desolation aspect of the original game, Benjamin Anseaume stated that it is impossible to sell a game with empty sceneries in 2019. The dev team is making choices and adding its own spices. For instance, in the original game, there were a few scarce columns in the palace. In the remake, these columns are falling. I'm excited. You mean the Saturn was weak? The original game being short, this specific aspect is a challenge for the team. One of the answers to this is to reflect on the price. It won't. Wait, hold on a second here. Is to reflect on the price. It won't be a $60 game. Sega has oversight of the progress of the remake's monthly builds, feedbacks, and is very involved. Sega gave artistic materials. Technical materials such as source code are not necessary since the game is being entirely remade. That is what I was talking about when I was talking months ago about the idea of a Panzer Dragoon Saga remake. You don't need the source code because you're building things from the ground up. Benjamin Asueme met Yukio Furusugi at GDC in February 2019. Involving the former team is very important for Forever Entertainment. Things like sounds, voices, cutscenes will be finalized a bit later once the feel of the game is satisfying to the dev team. They're pretty far in terms of development and close to that feel. The goal is to stay true to the original and fictional language created for the Panzer Dragoon series should be preserved. I think I read that wrong or it was written wrong. I don't know. Regarding the music, 2 options will be available: the original score and a remastered version. Details should be announced imminently. Breathing heavily. The game is made in Unity. The game was revealed during Nintendo Direct at E3, but the Forever Entertainment never said the game was Switch exclusive. No other platforms have been announced yet. Benjamin cannot comment on the question if the game is a Switch timed exclusive. So this may actually end up on other systems. I'll get it on the Switch anyway, but I am excited. Is the game going to use unique features of the Switch such as HD rumble or gyro aiming? The team wants to take advantage of these unique features, but the focus is on the content right now, so nothing is for certain. I really don't need HD rumble. I personally don't care about rumble. So I'm going to give it lower scores. No new content, no new locations will be added to the remake, but as already mentioned, some features will be added like mods and filters. The games will also be released physically on the Switch. Forever Entertainment is working to get a publisher. Initially, the games will be sold on separate cartridges. There is no plan to sell a bundle at this stage, but it might happen in the future. A team of about 50 people is working on the remake. It is a AA team, so this is a AA game. Pocket Sand. I looked back at the chat and it's let's get physical. Wow. And thank you for bearing with me as I read all of this. I know this is not interesting for a lot of people. Graphics targets for the Switch are follows. Docked 1080p, portable 720p. Frame rate has not yet been confirmed. Release date is this winter. The games can be expected between October 2019 and March 2020. So that's a big window, but go right ahead. I don't know about this thing. Asked about... Hold on. The voices of the fans do matter. Feedback can be shared on Twitter, and so you can give them feedback. Asked about Panzer Dragoon Saga, Benjamin stated there is no precise plan at the moment.
Boo, you suck!
Something could happen depending on the success of these remakes. It could also be another studio handling Saga remake. Should this happen, same for Orta. One thing is for sure, Sega is watching. So, what so all I'm hearing is this game's gonna be sick. Press play. What I'm hearing is that they're putting real effort into this. I feel like what we're hearing is that there's real effort into this, and that effort hopefully translates into a quality product. Because I want Saga. They mentioned Orta, which was the one on the Xbox. I don't care. Give me Panzer Dragoon Saga. I have an important question that people refuse to answer. What's Panzer Dragoon? Panzer Dragoon is a game series from the Sega Saturn. It had two games. They were think Star Fox but on a dragon. And that's Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2. Saga was a full-blown RPG. Zero the Hero. Yeah, Greg, your nephew John is streaming. I know he went live after I did. The greedy. He's a greedy Gus, is what he is. Just trying to snipe my loyal viewers. Wait, where are you all going? I'm looking right now. Yeah, Star Fox on a Dragon is probably a decent way to put Panzer Dragoon. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to get through that. I'm actually very excited about that. I was very, very excited to see that there is progress. I was excited to hear that it seems to be going well. What I would like to see is, oh, you always prefer me, so call me greedy. You always prefer me. Thank you, Zero the Hero. What I'd like to see is a sort of breakdown like this on Metroid. I would love to see some behind the scenes feedback about what's going on with Metroid 4. Not to talk about another game during Panzer Dragoon, but I like this stuff. One of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this is because I want you to see what I like. And what I like is for us to get these kind of updates. In the old days, we would have a video game magazine, and a video game magazine might show pictures from the development and have articles about what they're going to do. We are well past that. We're in the stage of social media. We've been there for a while. We should be getting more updates to this stuff. It's one of the reasons we don't need E3 anymore. We get these sort of directs from the different companies. We get Nintendo Directs and Sony States of Play and whatever the hell Xbox does. We get those multiple times a year whenever there are updates. So we don't need these info dumps of information like E3 or Gamescom, which is why I haven't been paying attention to Gamescom. We don't need that stuff anymore. This is what we need. The people who are passionate about these games, every once in a while, it would be nice to click on social media and find out that there is an update as to the production. There are interviews with the people while, you get to have an understanding of what's happening. And I like it. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to say it. I'm very curious about what transpired. Yeah, you know what, Green Soul? Nothing will be more interesting to me about Metroid Prime 4's development than wondering what was wrong with the stuff that they had, that they scrapped it completely. I suspect that years from now, we're going to get a game that seems very Metroid, and we're going to find out that that was the original engine that they were building for Metroid Prime 4, and they scrapped it. I find that, I wonder if we'll ever see that. Speaking of Metroid, I managed to beat Metroid Zero mission on hard under 2 hours. Oof, I don't think I've beaten it under 2 hours. It's been forever since I played it, though. I managed to beat Mega Man X6 100% on the stream as well. Normal Armor X 9999 Nightmare Souls. I'm a broken man. I never played through X6. I never played all the way through X6. That's why I follow Way Forward. They're really good at keeping people up to date. Yeah, see, I like that stuff. It'll be up there with the Haunted Paranormal Resident Evil 4. And what was it? Yeah, like, what was it like? Like, could you imagine a new Silent Hill game comes out a couple years later, and then another game comes out, and it's like, oh, this other game was the original Silent Hill demo that they turned into its own separate game. I like stuff like that. That's always fun behind the scenes. Panzer Dragoon and Super Monkey Ball are getting remade. Yeah, but the Monkey Ball that they're remaking is Banana Blitz from the Wii, which everybody said wasn't that good. Knights and Samba de Amigo had Wii games, but seeing them come back would be nice. We need a Skies of Arcadia. Skies of Arcadia remake would be pretty decent. Knights, I think, would be better to see. Samba de Amigo, I feel like Samba de Amigo, in all honesty, I hate to say it, I feel like rhythm games with instrument controllers are so niche that most people won't bother with them. Taiko Drum Master, which I would love to have, doesn't sell very well. My understanding is that it doesn't even sell all that well in Japan. Similar to Cyber Connect 2 stuff, they're making Final Fantasy VII remake, but they got dropped from it. And suddenly Project Kakarot shows up. Good. We need remakes of bad games. Also, Knights did get a trademark for a new game. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I think we talked about that before. I think so, anyway. Smash TV deserves a remake. Smash TV, oh my god. A new Smash TV game would actually be kind of cool. Resident Evil 4 turned into like 3 different games that actually came out. But we got a Resident Evil 4. It was good. How about a 3D Final Fantasy 7 remake based on 1 through 6? No, Zero. I want remakes of... I want a remake of 6 with the Project Octopath Traveler. I still to this day call it Project, with the Octopath Traveler graphics engine. Let Sonic stay bend. A new Jet Set Radio game would be nice. A new Jet Set Radio game, I think would be very popular. I think that that game would be more popular than even Sega would realize. But it is viewer topics portion time. If you have any topics that may have come to mind that I didn't talk about because I only crammed it into 3 topics, if you have anything that you want to discuss, feel free to do that here. Bring up whatever you want, whether you have a topic, whether you have a question for me. This is, I think that people don't realize that this is also basically a Q&A session. So if you have any questions of me that you want to ask, you're more than welcome to do that. I love how Ryan doesn't even bring F-Zero into it. I just gave up. AGM, that's where I was with Metroid. Whenever the E3s or whatever would roll around and I'm like, we're going to hear about Metroid. I was like, we're not going to hear about Metroid. Shut up. And then it happened one day and I was so happy. How about that Popeye's chicken sandwich? I'm not a chicken sandwich person, but Popeye's chicken is actually really awesome. Their biscuits are, oof. I love them. Oh man, now I want Popeyes. And I don't think we even have a Popeyes around here. That's what sucks. Topic, why does everything suck? Counter topic, why is everything awesome when you look at it from the other side? What do you own that you're not supposed to? Like not for resale stuff? I mean, basic stuff. I have some game, you know what I mean? Like Sonic and Streets of Rage 2. Oh, you know what I have that's not for sale? There was a Kirby display at a Funko Land for, I don't even remember which game, but it was a display and then it had a big like a nylon plush Kirby. I bought that from the employee. I gave him like $10 or $20 for it and he gave it to me. I still have that. That's still in the house. That's probably one of the few things that I own. I mean, the Virtual Boy should never have been for sale in the first place, so I guess that counts. Yeah, that's about it. I don't really. I used to have like displays and stuff. I used to have displays and everything, and I got rid of a lot of that stuff. I used to have like standees, and then I just don't have the room for it. Topic: can I borrow some money? Once you lend me some, you can borrow half of what you lend me. Thoughts about Matrix 4? Matrix 4. I need to see what they're doing with this movie because he's dead. Neo died. Don't bring him back to life. Definitely don't do that. Unless they're gonna... Oh, unless Neo comes back as a new Oracle. What? Although that's... If Neo comes back as some sort of Oracle that's helping to get people out of the Matrix, you're approaching Jesus levels of storytelling there. So maybe not. Thoughts on Sony buying out Insomniac Games? Truth be told, I don't know enough about Insomniac Games other than Spider-Man. There you go. Sony is trying to increase their stranglehold on Spider-Man by buying Insomniac Games. How about favorite Mega Man games you played? I like Mega Man X2 more than I like X1. I I know it's very basic, but I like 2 the best on the NES. I think it's about it. I think that's it. I think X4 is fantastic, but I think X2 is probably my favorite one. Not necessarily the best one, but definitely my favorite one. How much for your entire gaming collection? It's $5. Say GameStop. Popeyes is good. I agree. Oh yeah, what's up with that whole chicken? Apparently Minion, Popeyes has a brand new chicken sandwich item now, and it's people are arguing whether it's better than Wendy's or whether it's better than who are the homophobes? Chick-fil-A. Yeah, so they're arguing whether it's better than them. Have you watched Zim and Rocco? I watched Rocco. I watched the Rocco's Modern Life movie. It was good. It was good, but it reminds you how much that cartoon was a product of its age. But it was good. I didn't watch the Zim. I didn't watch Zim back in the old days, so I don't know how interesting that's going to be to me, but I'll give it a shot. With Panzer and Super Monkey Ball getting revived, what other Sega franchises would you want to come back? I mean, we got Streets of Rage, and I think it's kind of mixed as far as how people feel about it. I would like to see a new. I would love to see a new Phantasy Star online. That's what I would love to see. If not, just give me a Phantasy Star RPG. I would like that. You know what's funny? I begged for a Phantasy Star RPG, and I'm not sure I ever finished any of the other ones. Here's my question. I was rewatching the Sonic Unleashed LP, and you mentioned the one time you rage quitted a game. I believe you said you were at work and almost broke the store's PlayStation. I don't remember what game. Vagrant Story, Rocky Bear. That was Vagrant Story for the PlayStation. I got so mad at the game, I threw the controller, and it was one of those PlayStations. It was the gray PlayStation where it was messing up, so you had to stand it on the side in order for it to play the games. And I got so mad, I threw the controller, and it knocked the system over. The system fell down, and the game popped out. So I switched systems and put the game back in, and we never spoke of it again while I worked there. Remind me to ask her a photo of that of the Kirby? Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. The chat just jumped ahead before I could read everything. I'm trying to jump ahead real quick. To answer a prior question, I already helped an old friend set up their own game company years ago, so I guess I can count. As for the whole world domination, give it time. He is good. Displaying that illegal stuff. Matrix 4, what? A Matrix within a Matrix. Christopher Nolan. Yeah, your trailer has to have at least 10 of those. You ever wish something that was canceled? Do I wish something got canceled but it didn't? No. I don't think I've ever wanted something to be canceled. I think I've made the joke, but I don't think I ever legitimately wanted something to be canceled, because even if I don't like something, I just don't interact with it. You know what I mean? I don't watch the movie. I don't watch the TV show. I don't play the game. I hate the idea of saying that I wish a bunch of people lose their jobs because I probably won't like this thing. So I don't think I ever did that. Trinity, yeah, Trinity's dead too. They're the only 2 people that have signed up for the movie. You're right. Dan Greg, your hair's long as frick. What favorite Mega Man games you've played? Yeah, Mega Man X2 and Mega Man 2. I think those would probably be my favorite Mega Man games. Implying the Matrix didn't have enough Christ symbolism. All right, I'm gonna jump ahead here. Have you seen the leaks for the PS5 design? Yes. What I'm hearing now are those crazy PS5 designs are actually for the dev kit. I would love to see a picture of one. I would love to see it when it actually happens. What about Phantasy Star Offline? Yeah, that's 1 through 4. I think that might have been Star Ocean that just got a release. The Rockwell Gym things are good. I wish my life was canceled, but God. Remember when Federation Force was? Yeah, when Federation Force. That's a prime example. Federation Force was like, why are you trying to cancel it? Just don't play it. Speak with your wallet. That's what they understand. Speak with your wallet. Cancel culture. Cancel culture is terrible. Can we get a new Animatrix? Hey, Green Soul, I'll take a new Animatrix. For anybody that did not see Animatrix, find a copy of it and watch those. Animatrix was phenomenal. That was terrific. Different kinds of art, different kinds of animation, different versions of the stories. Very, very cool. Green Soul, I'm assuming you did see the Animatrix. I will assume you saw the Animatrix. What was your favorite? What was your favorite one? What was your favorite short? It wasn't a bad game, but it was a slap in the face. Yeah. You know what, AGM? What I said about Federation Force was that it should have played, and then at the end, they should have had a cutscene where they realize that they can't handle the problem, or where the Federation finally infiltrates whatever they're trying to do, and then when they get in there, they see Metroids, and they say, we have to call her. And then at the end, it says Metroid Prime 4 coming soon. I think people would have been completely turned around on Federation Force if you ended it like that. I bought this Matrix 4 in one pack for $12 on Amazon. Blu-ray disc. Yeah, I have the Blu-ray box set. Have you not seen the end of Federation 4? Nope. Is that how it ended? I don't. It might be. I didn't play it. Well, I'm sorry. I played it. I got bored of it. I actually got bored of it. It ended teasing Metro Prime 4, so it's kind of like that. Do you want me to say it? Yeah, well, AGM just said it. Yeah. I played it, and then I honestly just got bored of it. It wasn't a storyline game to me. It was a mission-based game, and I'm not a huge fan of mission-based games. I prefer yes, there was some story. I'm not saying that there was not story, but it all felt like a mission-based game. Like I go down and I do these things, and then I have to come back to the headquarters, and then I have to go down and do more things, and then I come back to the headquarters, and it just felt like that, and it didn't feel like a story-driven game. It felt like a mission-driven game, and I didn't really like that. I do have the 3DS XL now, so I am considering going back and playing some other games that I missed on the 3DS. Some of which I have, and I just never finished them. But Dragon Quest Builders 2, man, it's got its meat hooks in me. Just give me Metroid 5. I'll take a Metroid 5. Yeah. Curious about teasing some of the stuff in Metroid 2. Sam, I played Samus Returns. I did play Metroid Prime 2. When can we talk about Endgame? I think it's safe to talk about Endgame at this point. I think that's more than safe. The movie has been out for a little while. The movie's been out for a few weeks, about a month digital, and a couple weeks, week and a half, physical. If you haven't seen it at this point, that's your own fault. Yeah, I if you want to talk about it in spoilers, that's fine, but I don't know. I feel like we're getting to the point where you gotta be able to talk about that movie. Okay, Greg, can I spoil the fight? No, Suave. Now you're building it up, so now I wanna play it myself. Infinity War is better. Finally get to say it. Rocky, Infinity War was a better standalone movie. Endgame was the perfect wrap up to this entire MCU. The function of that, the problem with that is that without those other movies, it kind of falls flat. You don't get the same impact. Infinity War if you watched Infinity War first, I think you would still watch a very impactful movie. I think you would still have a good time. Endgame sort of requires you to have seen most of the MCU leading up to it, but if you have, I feel like the payoff is bigger. So do you think that pic Nintendo posted on Twitter of Mario was a tease for Sunshine? I think it was a tease for Sunshine, but I don't know how. I don't know if it's a remake. I don't know if it means GameCube games are coming to the Switch. But I do think it was sort of a tease. But that's it. That was a good chug of water. I don't know why. I legit laughed in the theater during Infinity War. I thought Infinity War was fantastic. Terrific. I saw the entirety of Phase 1, seen half of Phase 3. I felt satisfied enough. Phase 3 was good. Phase 2, I think there was a few average movies in the middle there. I still think Avengers might be one of the best. Avengers 1 might be one of the best movies I've ever seen. I can testify with that. I teared up at the beginning of the climax. And I do that too. And I know it was due to it's because you're invested in those characters, Aqua. When you've seen the majority of the movies leading up to it, you are invested in those characters. You've been on the journey with them. So it has more impact when you see the bad things happen to these people. It does more for you. I think Phase 2 just had Thor 2 and Iron Man 3. I didn't think Iron Man 3 was that awful, but I didn't think it was the necessary, with the exception of my favorite character from Iron Man 3.
Bloody hell.
Oh, I love him. Yeah, it was just okay. All right. So I'll tell you what, that is, let me get the right screen on here. Yeah, kind of meh. Niobe Matrix 4 hype. That is gonna do it for today. Thank you everybody so much. Ben Kingsley is a gift to humanity. Thank you everybody so much for stopping in and for hanging out, for having this discussion, tearing up at the so-called team up. Oh yeah. A very excuse me. Had to mute the mic there. Thank you everybody, DB Stewart, as DB Stewart shows up for the end of it, for stopping in, for hanging out today. If you have not done so yet, follow me over on Twitter, and you should check the links down below. You can follow me over on Twitter and follow me over on YouTube. Twitter is where I post all kinds of fun stuff and updates for whatever the streams are going to be. YouTube is where I upload copies of this show, and I do a couple of streams here and there. I have started uploading some streams. I started uploading a few streams here and there. Yeah, I'm sorry, Cassidy. It happened. But we do the stream live here Fridays, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching this on YouTube, that message was actually for YouTube. I got to get this in a script and remember it all. If you're watching this on YouTube, also be sure to check the links down below. Follow me over on Twitter and follow me over on Twitch, where we do the show 5 p.m. Friday afternoon. So Friday 5 to 7. And then we also stream Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. We do all kinds of games. I do a lot of variety stuff. But did I miss the endgame talk? Yeah, we did a very brief sort of endgame talk. Nothing really extravagant there. But thank you everybody for stopping in and for hanging out. For right now, go over and watch Johnny's stream. If you're live here, if you're on YouTube, then go watch another one of these videos here. But have a good one, everybody. Have a good weekend. Play some fun games. Take care of yourselves. Get outside, because I know around here it's finally not hot. Any plans on Final Fantasy streams? I'm guessing that's Final Fantasy. Not anytime soon, but keep your eyes out on Twitter. That's where I post whatever I'm going to be playing. But I will see you all next time. Have a great one.